Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the series. Why are you not married yet? Today, we're sitting down with single men to talk about marriage. I have here with me Kevin Wonsu Setra. You are a software developer. And I also have with me Andrew Bankole, who is an IT consultant. And last but not least, I have Osahon Izebezua, who is a serial entrepreneur. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this evening. Hello everybody, thank you for clicking my channel. My name is Imoitinya and I am a visual storyteller. Osaho, I want you to talk to me about looking at your background and how you were raised, right? Do you feel as though you're prepared to be married?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of our culture is rooted in our faith and our religion, and within that gives you this sort of handbook, right, as to how you as a man should act and how your wife as a woman should act. So, speaking specifically to a man, I think just in terms of that faith, it's led my dad to show me some of the fruits of the spirit of sort, right? So you have to be patient with your wife, you have to be understanding, you have to be kind, all the things that encompass being aligned with the word that we all have as our foundation. It's kind of shown me some sort of example of sort that would guide me to kind of build my own foundation.
Thank you for that. Now, Kevin, to you. All your siblings are married, as you shared with me, right? Do you feel as though there's some level of pressure for you?
I'm sure there's some level of pressure that I would say my parents try not to put on me, but me being the only sibling that's not married, I'm sure they're looking at me like, okay, when are we coming? When are we preparing for this wedding? Where is she? Whatever it is. So I think they wanna know where my mindset is, but they won't necessarily pressure me, but they'll definitely talk to me about it like every day. So that might that
No
might be
pressure, but every day.
right, right. But as we talked about before, I don't really feel the pressure like that. Generally, I think because of my personality, I'm more like even kill or calm. So even when those conversations come up, I don't feel the pressure, but it's more so sometimes it becomes annoying, but it's like, yeah, I know guys, I know I'm the only one not married, but I have all these other things going on in my life. So it's not like I'm waiting on that, more so that it's something that will come in its time.
Okay. Well, that's good. So Andrew, so you
Yeah.
talked to me about you went out on a date, right? And then you were probing and asking questions about the prospect of what you see, of the prospect of your relationship to be, right? And then you noticed something about that relationship. You noticed something about the response that you get from this date, and that kind of that kind of was a turn off for you. So I wanted you to just talk about what exactly was it, and why did it turn you off?
Um, well,
I don't.
so I think it was, I think,
I know
yeah.
it's a bit on the personal
That-
side. Sorry, sir.
I was hoping we get some softballs before we get into the more complex, but yeah, I mean, I think that not to say that it's trauma, and also just to kind of protect myself, I am empathetic towards people and the issues that they are going through. But one thing that I did notice in dating is that a lot of times you will have to not necessarily suffer, but work through people's past relationships. And so, in the situation that I was referring to, I was talking to you about. I noticed there was this woman that I was interested in, and as soon as we kind of engaged in conversation, we started, going out on dates. There were certain things that were happening that led me to believe that her past relationship was rough, or the guy that she was with before didn't do her right, and so to answer your question initially, when I talked about what I typically do on dates is I try to ask questions about people's past, only because I think that one, it tells you more about who they are right now, and then it also tells you how they can evolve over time. And so, one of the things I like to do is I like to say, hey, once we get comfortable, obviously, ask about someone's past relationship. And I do feel as though I have a very strong belief of that if you struggle to talk about something, it partially means you're not over it. And so when I do see that in people, I do take a step back, because I know that once you start to build a relationship with someone, they might have issues that they're going through. You might have issues that you're going through. As much as you want to be there for them to support them, sometimes they have to solve those problems by themselves. And
Right.
so, what I have noticed in dating is, there have been instances where I've met people who have had past issues and are still kind of working through them. And not to say that I'm not available to be there, but I just know that that's one of my struggles when it comes to meeting people and trying to take that next step.
That's a big one to take too. Um, so a wise woman, which is what I began with this conversation, right? A wise woman told me that marriage is a gift. And it's a gift, so basically you don't know exactly what you're getting, right? Until you don't know what kind of gift you're getting until you open it. Likewise, you don't know what kind of marriage you would have until you're in it. And I just wanted you to answer that for me. Do you see marriage as a gift?
Of course, because you have an opportunity to finally, um, you know, have. I think the older we get, the more risk averse we become. So when you're married to an individual, you've kind of done your backgrounds and you've kind of done the legwork to say, hey, with this person, they get me enough. I get them enough. Our two circles kind of meet in that middle point, like a Venn diagram. You guys know you remember a Venn diagram? So all her differences in this circle over here, all my differences in my circle over here, we've come together in that middle point, and we have a solid base in that middle point. And it kind of speaks to what the gentleman was just talking about, where when he's going on dates and he's asking these questions, he's filling up that circle. He's trying to figure that out to see even if that individual has a whole circle, because to enter into marriage, you have to be a whole individual to enter into a marriage, right? So when you get to the point of actually being married, you've done your background, you've done all your homework to see this guy or this candidate is the best type of candidate for you. And at that point, it's more of I don't want to say it as if there's no stress, because there's an inherent stress, but it takes away that unknown factor of, okay, at least I know this person I can do life with. I've done all the major checks and you kind of fit that. So I'm ready to do life with you, and whatever may come, our foundation is strong enough that we can kind of withstand it. So that in and of itself, for me, especially with risk and stress, I like to know that that's taken care of, and now I can go face whatever my ambitions are.
Sounds like a resume, though. Sounds like you're going for a job interview, basically. Like you're literally sitting down and just getting to know who this person is. Oh, basically, and that's pretty much what the dating period is, to get to know who exactly this person
For
is.
sure, us guys are on. We're also on interview as well too. So every single question a girl asks us, or even down to how we present ourselves on that first date, she's sizing us up the same way we're sizing her up. You know what I mean? Oh, when he leaves, what type of car is he driving? These are all surface level things that may not, well, shouldn't mean the most, but they do play a real factor if we're just being honest, right? So everyone's interviewing in that time period. Even 5 dates in, how did he handle me coming late? Does he handle stress well? Does she handle stress well? Is she adaptable? You know what I mean? All these things are important because these are the things that now lend into, okay, as quote unquote the old school head of the household, can he deal with stress properly? If he can't, how can I quote unquote allow this man to lead me? Because he, at the sign of one small stress, he's all over the place. Or this lady, how am I to ensure and entrust that she can build, if I give her a seed, she can build around it. If with her current state of her life, it's all kind of in shambles a bit. And it's a thin line with getting married to someone's potential and paying attention to their present. And I guess we'll probably get into that a little later, because that was a little bit of I was
Yeah, we're
engaged
going we're going to
before,
talk
and I
about
was
that. Yes, yeah.
you coming
We're
for
gonna
me? I
get
know.
to-
I'm ready.
We're going to talk about that. Kevin, so you were in a long-term relationship, and you were hoping that it would lead to marriage. And the way you said it was because it was long and because you guys have been together, it seemed as though it would lead to marriage. But you realize that just because a relationship is long doesn't necessarily mean it's marriage ready. And I just want you to talk to me why exactly did you feel that way? Why exactly didn't it lead to what you thought it would have led to?
Okay, so it was a relationship that started in my very early 20s, like beginning of college, so probably freshman year. So we're young when we meet each other, start talking, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And so when you start off in a relationship that young, a more serious relationship that young, everything is pretty light. That you're not tackling these big issues, because although they're important in your relationship, you're also 18, 19, 20, so you're not thinking about these things. You have class in the morning, you're going to the dining hall, like your life itself is light, so you're not worried about some of these bigger issues about, like, okay, how do they spend money, how, like, their budget, where do they work, because none of us have jobs. We're just going to class,
From the cafeteria.
That's it, So I think it started off then, so it went from late teens to mid 20s. So the natural progression is, okay, you see somebody, you like them, you start talking, they become boyfriend and girlfriend, you're there for a while, you get engaged, that's the natural progression of things. And I think sometimes we tie that into the time as well, right? So the quantity of the time and not the quality, right? So we will look and say, okay, we've been together 5 years, now it's time for us to do this. 6 years, so we try to put it on that kind of timetable, but then you realize relationships aren't linear in that way, in which there might be a year that the relationship wasn't good, right? So like it wasn't on that steady incline or increase as you thought, like maybe it plateaued, maybe it went down. So you can't just look at the time and say, okay, we've been together for this long, now it's time for us to get married. It's like, no, there are a lot of issues that we have now in our relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend that if they're not addressed now, then this will not be a long marriage at all, So it got to a point where you feel like we're ready for the next step. I, in my heart, know that we're not, and we can't continue going how we are if we're both thinking that way. Like you get to that fork in the road, and you have to go forward some way. And if you're not going in both directions, if you're not both going to the same direction, then you have to go in different directions. So I think that that was definitely a learning experience, because that was my longest relationship and like my first adult relationship. So I learned a lot about myself, I think, in the time afterwards, because there was a lot of, everybody comes with their own baggage. It's whatever it is. I know we always say baggage is a bad thing, but it's not. It's just what your life experiences, you come with them. Whether they're good or bad, you come with them. And as you were saying earlier, like we're not all equipped to deal with those kind of things, right? You want to support somebody and be there for them, but for example, like let's say somebody needs therapy. Just because you're their significant other or their friend doesn't mean that you're qualified to handle such issues, especially if you haven't been through them before or even been in that realm. So, but as a boyfriend, when you see like your girlfriend like going through something, you want to do whatever you can do to make it better, whatever you can do to fix it. Like if let's say she has trust issues from somewhere else, like maybe from a previous relationship or from maybe like seeing her parents or whatever it is, and it manifests in such a way where she says, well, I don't like when you do this because it makes me feel this way. And it's like, okay, these are the trust issues. Okay, I'll change this so that you don't feel that way. She's like, okay, thank you. Now it's like, okay, now I don't like when you do this because it makes me feel this kind of way,
like she's trying to change you, basically.
Yeah, and even if it's not on purpose, it's like it's everything that you do that triggers those issues, you change. But these are only symptoms of what the real
What
issue
the
is, right? So
real
if you
issue is,
if you
right.
address the trust issues, these other things that aren't that shouldn't really be that big of a deal won't come up. So, but on my end, it's like, okay, well, when you bring this up, I'm going to address it. I'm going to try to fix it. When you bring something up, I'm going to address it, try to fix it. But once you continue to bring those things up, you just you get tired of it, and it's like, well, now I'm kind of fighting a losing battle, and I know when I fix this, you're going to bring something else. So
Right,
I'm about to just stop
so
fixing things.
that's why they said you have to really work on yourself before you get married, especially when you're coming in with like traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
wow.
any experience, you have to work on yourself,
have to
but
work on
especially,
especially that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like a haha for me. Andrew. I know. That's like a haha. I mean, I'm working on myself, but I'm just saying for ladies out there, you hear that? Okay. So you talked about being connected to a woman. Your own description was heavenly, I have to say. You talked about being financially connected. You're not necessarily saying she has to have a lot of money, but it has to be something that you both can build a life on. But I want you to just talk to me about the kind of woman, ladies listening, the kind of woman that the kind of woman that you would want, because your description is quite impressive.
Oh, yeah. You kind of put me on a spot here, but I'm gonna try my best. But I do remember our conversation. I think what we were talking about was a little bit about what the gentleman here was talking about as well, with respect to what I call core values. I mean, he was using Venn diagram. I call them core values, and I think that there are a set of core values that make every individual. And those core values are kind of ingrained into you. They are the reason why you do certain things. They're the reason why you say certain things. And they're the reason why you move the way you move. And so for me, I'm looking for someone who kind of aligns with those core values in an aspect where there's congruency to a certain extent. And so what I mean by that is if I value something like selflessness, like me, I would consider myself a pretty selfless person. I would, sacrifice my left arm for my friends or for my family without batting an eye. And so I know with that comes kind of the need to also have someone who's willing to do that same kind of sacrifice for you. And so that, for me, that's kind of a part of my core value in terms of being a person who is willing to kind of put someone else before themselves. And so when I'm dating, I always look for actions, or I look for phrases, or I look for tendencies that kind of reveal that in an individual. Because I can't come out and be like, hey, what are your core values? But
She's gonna run away.
she's gonna be like, oh, core values? What do you mean? But what I can say is, at least for me, and to answer your initial question, what I align with is kind of that selflessness. Also the willing to be understanding, being extremely understanding and empathetic is really important to me, because it's just, I feel like in a relationship that kind of needs to be a core value, regardless, because if you can't put yourself in the shoes or in the perspective of your significant other, then how are you ever able to really relate to them to the extent that they need to be related to, and then also kind of work together to work through whatever issues you guys are working with. And so in order to understand someone on a more intimate level, I think that you do need to be just generally an understanding person. And so I'm looking for someone who is understanding, like I said, someone who's selfless, because I know that I will be selfless for you. Someone that, is spiritual, because I do think that, everyone has different religions that they kind of worship. But the beautiful thing about religion is that it kind of takes the contract of, I don't want to use the term contract, but the framing of marriage, and it takes it out of the hands of you and I just kind of writing things and trying to figure it out ourselves, and it puts it in the hands of God. and it puts it in the hands of someone else.
Someone else, right.
When we do have things that we struggle with, we both agree that, okay, God is above both of us. So what does God say? And so I do think that a spiritual aspect to a woman is important to me, because it'll help us solidify kind of that foundation where we're not just thinking about things on the fly in terms of our morals, in terms of our values. We are in alignment with what our baseline understanding of how we should treat each other is. And I think it was the gentleman that's on the line also was bringing up 1 Corinthians 13. He was talking about the elements of love. I have that in my bedroom, and that's essentially what I look at as kind of my definition of love in a relationship, and how the person I'm looking for in a
I'm
woman.
definitely going to come back to that. The Proverbs 13. I don't even know what that is. It's not the one. That's the 31. Is that the 31?
13.
The 31 where the woman wakes up at 2 a.m. and feed everybody, feed the husband, feed the chicken, feed the goat, take care of the maid.
No.
Which one is that one? Oh, 31. Yo, I'm like, she worked too hard. I can't. Anyways, well, that's pretty neat. Osahon, so you mentioned earlier that you were engaged, and you're no longer engaged, and part of the reason for that was tribe. I didn't think this. Well, I do know this is an issue, but I didn't think that it would be something in the modern day. But it obviously was. So I just want you to just talk to me about that. How the tribes, how did the fact that you both are from different tribes cause a friction in your relationship?
Sure. So I'm Edo and she was Igbo. And the interesting thing about it was, so we're both pretty much Americanized Nigerians, right? So we were born here. Well, I was born there, but I came here when I was 2. She was born in Brooklyn. So we're pretty much Americanized. So we didn't necessarily identify with any of the pre-existing issues, I guess, that tribes may have had. I don't know. But the issue really came from her parent, not parents, but parent. And that issue, I guess, was long stemming. Maybe something may have happened with her from a person with my tribe, and forever and a day she'll never like people from Edo. I don't know. But that in and of itself led to strains upon our relationship. So the tribal differences, I think mainly in 2021, it doesn't matter to our generation. We party with everyone. We have great times with everyone. The issue lied more so in the fact that she was the child that was always looking to appease her mom. So now, obviously, she doesn't like me because I'm from where I'm from. So there was this continual contention between me and her. And then in the middle is this, individual that's trying to, okay, I want to right, I want to marry you, but then I want to, I don't want to piss my mom off. So tribalism, I don't know necessarily think is an issue for, again, any of us, because we're new age, where that stuff doesn't matter. But with my situation with her, it was something that, kind of similar to what we've been talking about all this time. You spend all the time, because we were together for 6 years. So the gentleman over there was talking about, it's almost like natural thing. Okay, so we've been together this long, so now we should be looking to this. Plus, you got everyone at your church saying, when are you guys, you're just playing, all of that different type of stuff. And it pushes you into the box. Meanwhile, all along the way, I was seeing the underlying issue of, wait, in this, your mom always makes you do this and it makes you react this way. I'm wiser now to have seen, hey, that's a huge red flag. I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm married to the potential of when we get married, we're thinking of moving out of state. When I get her away from all of this, she's great. But I was being overly married to the potential and not really paying attention to the present. So, because as the gentleman was saying, there were a lot of symptoms of past things that generated from her mom and then generated from her issues with tribalism, that, there was a serious underlying issue there, but I was, I guess, too into it. And then also too is like a thing of like, damn, I've come this far. I've done all this. And then, you don't want to step out, but there came a point in time that she was my friend before anything. And I'm like, look, you know what? Like, I wouldn't want us to enter into something and to become those people. So, we're going to have to, separate. And then we separated. So the tribalism thing is, I hope I'm probably one of the last people that face it. I doubt it. But I don't think it's something that's as rampant as I would hope. Not that it is out there, but it was unfortunate. But it also, I think it served as a blessing for me because again, it was just another piece of there's a bigger issue, that would have probably haunted me later if I just stuck with everything and just went into it.
Kevin, now you said to me on the phone that we are called gym rat. So these are people who go to the gym every day. And when I was speaking to you, it was like, we're supposed to talk for how many? I don't know, it was 5:30 and you had to go because it was time for gym. And so that brings me to this question. Body modification is a big deal, especially with the culture that we're in right now, where a lot of time girls want to enhance themselves. Women will say this, and they would say that they do this for other women. They do it for other women. Nobody does it for men. But as a woman myself, honestly speaking, deep down, inside, we do it for a man. So I just wanted you to talk to me about body modification in terms of your attraction to women. Does that, you look at the physical, right? Now this is subjective though, so you're going to be answering this question for all the men in here. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Adjust yourself, no pressure. Does body modification, does a certain look keep a relationship? Because we do extra as women, right? But does that in terms of, yeah, that's basically what the question is.
So a certain look doesn't keep a relationship, right? So everybody has, maybe their type or something that they're attracted to. So we know that the physical is important, like it's a thing, but it's not the only thing and it's not the most important thing, right? So we can't ignore it and act as if we're just gonna date anybody that we're not attracted to, because that's nonsensical. You're gonna date somebody that you're attracted to. So that's one. But then as you get to know somebody, you'll see, like you'll maybe come for the looks of attraction. You'll stay for the personality, stay for the morals, stay for the values, right? Because you can point out 100 beautiful women, let's say just as beautiful as the woman that you're dating, but that's not what's most important. It's only a small portion of the thing, right? So when we're talking about body modifications, right? So there's different kinds, right? So when you go to the gym, you're working out, you're modifying your body, right? You're working hard to either get smaller, get bigger, make this, whatever, that kind of modification. And then there's surgery, like that we're seeing a lot of, like different kinds of stomach surgeries, taking something from somewhere, putting it somewhere else, you know what I mean? And they're doing it for to appease or to make themselves more what's the word I'm looking for? Like more attractive, more coveted by a certain type of man, right? So my first thing is that, like, I don't know if I'm not somebody that would want to date somebody that has done that or wants to do that, because I think there's like an underlying issue, right? So there's something about yourself that you're really not okay with, right? So we all have those, I guess, self-esteem issues, whatever it is, right? So then it's like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go to the gym and work out, or change your diet, or change your lifestyle so that you can, look like the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like? Or some people take the route of they want to go get surgery. So it's like, what is it about yourself that you dislike so much that when it comes down to it, you would have somebody just cut you open and change it up? You know what I mean? That I think that stems from a very deep issue that I'm not sure what it will be for that specific person, but I think that speaks more to their mindset, right? It's not just, I want a bigger butt, I'm gonna get surgery, get a butt. I think it's a lot deeper than that. So, and then when you look, there's every shape, complexion woman is married or in a relationship. Right? You won't say, like, if you look at this type of woman, there's none of them that have found a man. No, every type of woman has found someone. You know what I mean? No matter what they look like, same thing for a man. So you have to ask yourself, like, okay, one question you have to be real with yourself is like, okay, is the type of person, am I the type of my type, right? So you're the person you're looking for, do they like how you look? Like, do they generally like the people that you look for? Do they generally like how you look? And that doesn't mean that you don't look good. It's just that you might not be their speed, which is okay.
Right. Are you preparing yourself for the kind of person you would want? Right.
And that's it. And if you're not, that's okay. That doesn't say anything to lessen you or anything like that. It's just you might not be for them, and you're not for everybody, which is okay. You know what I mean? But then when you try to fit, I guess, some of the body standards and things that we see in the media, you're already going left because you're looking at a small portion of people, right? Like, I know we see it a lot, but it's still a small portion of people that are doing these body modifications. You know what I mean? So
basically you're saying that it's more the physical, it's more from the inside.
For sure.
So a lot of times men, you are attracted to the physical, but at the end of the day, it goes on an inside. I'm going to share a quick story. So one day I was in New York, I was downstairs and I came upstairs and I had on like a very bright lipstick, like really, really bright, like red. And as soon as I opened the door, my brother goes, "Oh God, Metzia, that lipstick is so bright. Like, you guys keep thinking you're going to get a man with those bright lipstick." It doesn't work like that. So he always tell me, like, he's such a big fan of just saying, like, men don't care much about that. Like, we go for the inside. And I was like, yeah. But, I mean, you just answered the question. It is true. I said Andrew. Andrew, yeah, that's what I was going to say. You said you're full of love. That's how you said it. You remember that? Probably not.
I might have said that in a private conversation, yeah.
You said you're full of love, and love is all you give. I'm making all this one up, but that's what you said. You did say you're full of love, right? But I want to ask you this, though. Taking all the relationship that you've been in, the one that lasts for 5 years, the one that lasts for 2 minutes, whatever it was, right? Do you feel, though, so far, with your experiences, that love is enough? Take time to answer that. I mean, sorry, not enough. Not a long time.
Is love enough? I hesitate to answer it the way I answered it while we were on the phone, but I think that people's definition of what love is different. So I'll start by saying what my definition of love is. My definition of love is, at its root, selflessness, right? Putting somebody else above yourself, sacrificing or, adhering to someone else's concerns at the expense of your energy, your time, your mindset, whatever. And so to me, that's the only really way you show love to people, right?
But do you think that would be, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Do you think that would be enough to hold a marriage? Because selflessness is a beautiful thing. Humility, understanding, those are great qualities, right? But do you think in terms of like being able to hold a relationship in of itself, do you think just love is enough?
No. And the reason why I say that is because of some of the things we've already kind of touched on, which is, and I'll kind of tie it back to what I said before in terms of core values, because there's other elements in life that are important to us, right? Although love may be an amazing feeling, you may feel good with someone, they may, they might make you happy. There's other things that are also very important to you. So, for example, religion. Religion is very important to some people in terms of them finding a partner who is of the same religion. And so maybe they have a friend that, they've kind of escalated things and now it's an actual relationship. But because there's kind of that religious gap there, for marriage, it might not work because for me, the ideologies are essentially off. For me, the ideologies might be different. It's a difficult question to answer,
okay.
Because like I said, everyone's definition of love is very different. And I think that also everyone's definition of what marriage should and should not be is different as well. Okay. And so I think that it can work as long as the two parties are willing to kind of work together to form a relationship that is both healthy and fulfilling for both individuals. But if there are certain elements in life, such as, the man was saying here that his ex-fiance's mother was having issues with his tribe, or if, maybe there's a specific culture that your parents are not really adhered to, and if your parents are important enough, then love essentially isn't enough, because those issues will always manifest themselves
In the
in
marriage.
the relationship one way or the other, and that to me that will ultimately poison the relationship.
Yeah. Oof, poison is a strong word, but yeah, that's true. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, that is very true. Great point. Osahon, so you talked earlier about the marrying to a potential. And I just wanted you to just talk a little bit about that, just 2 seconds, and I will have to stop you when it's 2 seconds. So that means you have to think, because we because we gotta go. But the reason why I said this is there's this idea, marriage for people who haven't, because they said it's a gift and you have to be in it for you to know what kind of gift you're getting, or to know what kind of marriage you would have. So a lot of us sometimes marry to the idea of a person as opposed to the reality of them. So I just wanted you to talk, and I think that's potential falls under that category. I just wanted you to talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were kind of saying it all just now, right? So we've all kind of done that, right? If we find that person that we get excited, they kind of hit a lot of our check boxes, maybe not 10 out of 10, but maybe if they hit 7, you get excited and they say, okay, I can hold out for the 3, and I can endure a lot of the present time for the dealing with the 3, because over time, fine, we can get the extra 1, and then we can get another extra 1, and then 10, 15 years, I got myself a perfect 10. So we tend to get married to, and we just, as humans, we have hope is our biggest strength, and sometimes our biggest weakness, in the same sense, where it's like the catch-22, where okay, I'm hoping to get this person to be this thing, but people are so complex that you can hope all day, and then a person decides to take this path, but your hope is tied to this path. You know what I mean? So that's where the issue where the issue comes up a lot for a lot of us that do that, is we're not God. We can't control a person's life path. We can try as hard as we can, but they'll always end up following what their heart or whatever is drawing them towards, and that may not always be as favorable to you at the end of the day. So you have to kind of be pragmatic enough to say, hey, as I see you right now in the present, you're in my face as you are. Can this work? Are you, am I willing to jump all the way in with this at this point? And you have to be mature enough to say, no, I can't. You can't lie to yourself, because you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing the individual in front of you a disservice, because they're thinking, okay, well, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like you put this ring on me, and that was an issue I faced, right? So it's like, when you give this ring to this person, you're giving them it's like the terms of agreement. You check the box and then you press submit. It's like you're putting it on there and you're accepting everything as is and saying, hey, you're just all right. We'll work it out. But then if you really truly feel on the inside, which I kind of did, and you ignore it, you cause more damage than good, because getting married to the potential isn't so, it's not wisdom centric. I don't think so, in my opinion. So you definitely want to ensure that the person as they are right now fits you enough to where if they stay that person and they stay that 7, that their personality just keeps them at that 7 out of 10 for the rest of your life, you'll be okay. In your heart of hearts that you'll be fine to deal with this person at the 7.
Wow. So looking at a person as they are, and dating the person as they are, and using that as a way to judge what the future will be, right? That's pretty much what you're saying, as opposed to trying to marry what you think they will become, right? Am I making sense?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I would say what would even lend to your assistance, right, in the dating process, is figuring out what their goals for themselves are, right? Because that's where the issue comes in. We have the checklist. It's our hopes, right? So it's like, oh, I have these internal hopes that, we just have to get this and this and this, and she'll be fine. But meanwhile, on the inside of her, she's just she may be in love with herself, where No, I like I am exactly. If you have these open conversations early, like the gentleman was saying, where, it may seem super upfront, but I'm saving you time and I'm saving me time. I want to know exactly where you are, where you intend to be with yourself. And with that, I know and I can say, okay, well, at least she has some sort of benchmark to be her North Star to guide her forward. If you just want to be with the person to say, all right, they're a project for me, and then I can work on them, and then they'll be the 10. They don't have the benchmark. You're creating it for them, and that's not, again, you're not God.
Thank you for that. So here is the final question for the evening. I know we can go on, but we have to cut it. Now, I want to hear about boundaries for you gentlemen. And also, what do men really want? I mean, those are the two questions that I have. So just in terms of boundaries, I would just go around and just kind of give me one or two things. I was going to say expectation, but I think you all kind of mentioned it. So I want to hear the boundary part when it comes to dating. What is something that you will look for? And Andrew, you mentioned something earlier, looking at someone's past and then just kind of judging from that. But if you can think of something else, like maybe another one while you're sitting here, and then we'll go from there. But I want to hear about the boundaries. Like what exactly, I'll start with you, Kevin. What exactly what boundaries do you set in terms of your dating, in terms of like taking all the things that you've gone through with the long-term relationship? Now, what boundaries you would set with the partner that you see yourself with?
When you say boundaries, just so I understand it correctly, you mean like
what you wouldn't take? What's the
got you.
no? Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. I got you. So I think like two things that are very important to me that I've realized in like my singleness is one was accountability
Okay.
and reciprocity. So if I'm dating somebody, you have to be able to be introspective, look at yourself, and know when to call yourself out or know when to accept when, even if you might not have been wrong, you could have done something better, right? So that accountability is a big thing because I think that generally men were more apologetic than women, like in situations. So we might say, I'm sorry, so we can get the peace. You know what I mean? Like we'll say, I'm sorry a lot, but there are situations where you might not even feel that you're sorry, but to keep the peace, you'll say, okay, I'm sorry. And it's still genuine, but you also want to keep the peace. And in hearing something back like, okay, yeah, I also could have done this better, or I reacted this way and I could have, you know what I mean? Hearing that accountability in whatever the situation is, it kind of, it helps. It helps, especially if I might not feel like I'm wrong in the situation, but I'm apologizing to keep the peace. You also being accountable for whatever you
For your
brought to
own
it.
action,
Like I
yeah.
think that means a lot. And then reciprocity in showing me that you're just as interested in me as I am you, or that you love me just as much as I love you. However you can measure that, but showing it in whatever way I would feel it. So if I know that you feel loved or you feel this way, if I buy you flowers, I not saying that I would expect it, but it makes it easier for somebody to show you when you're also showing them. And that doesn't mean I want you to also buy me flowers, but I just want to, when somebody feels love, they want to also give that love back, just that natural feeling, you know what I mean? So that reciprocity is really important because you're not in a relationship where it's like tit for tat, you have to do this, I do that, whatever. It's just like I'm making you happy. Like my goal is to make you happy because you also make me happy in whatever you're doing, and I make you happy in whatever I'm doing. So I think those are two things. Like if those things are lacking, it's like these
ain't gonna work.
It's not. It's just not. It's really not.
Well, reciprocity and accountability. Yes. Wow. How about you, Andrew?
Kevin, you stole mine. Reciprocity, definitely. Reciprocity is just
reciprocity. But go ahead.
It's so important. It's extremely important.
Why do you guys feel as though that's not women we don't give you back what we get? Like, do you think you guys just pour all the love into us and you guys don't get anything back? I mean, this fact that you both are saying the same thing, reciprocate.
I don't want to speak for.
I
don't want to. I'm not going to say this on behalf of.
Hold on, because there is a stereotype that men don't. What is it? You guys don't feel love, or you guys you show the love and we're not supposed to show. There must be something there, though, because if everybody's saying the same thing, then there's a lack somewhere.
I think naturally men are, or at least traditionally, men are supposed to court women.
Yeah.
And so just naturally, when we are courting women, we do show a lot of love. I mean, at least for someone that we are very interested in.
Yeah.
And so,
A lot of time the women don't show back.
and the thing is, I can't really say that. I can't really speak for all women,
some
but
women don't
there
say that.
is sometimes, there have been relationships where I've been in where I don't feel the same kind of effort or love or energy back. And so I think that, maybe that's what I mean in terms of reciprocity. And that's why it's really so important, because if I'm investing my time, my effort, and my energy, I think the most valuable thing a man can give you is his time. If he gives you a lot of time, whether that's just being there, supporting you, talking to you, etc., that's the way he really shows love. And that's the way he shows that you are important, you're a priority. And so I do think that, to what Kevin was saying before, everyone shows love in different ways. But you can always.
Sorry, is that communicated though? Because I'm just keep thinking while you guys are speaking. Because one of the biggest thing, though, this I'm not stereotyping, Sha, so forgive me, but I do know that sometimes men have issues when it comes to, not all of you guys, for somebody's flag my video, some of you do have issues with communicating a lot. That's a biggie. Like, I date somebody who I couldn't handle it because I'm like, yo, I cannot. Like, there's no way you can build a relationship when there isn't communication. I think for me, that's like the top. Like, I have to be able to communicate with you. But a lot of times I think that for some reason, from my experience, you feel as though a woman, I can read your mind as a woman. I can't. So if you're not telling me what you want, then how am I supposed to know? So I'm just thinking about the reciprocity as you guys are speaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, but go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. Sometimes communication kind of goes into my second most important thing, which was, I was going to use understanding.
Okay.
Kind of going back to what I was saying about empathy. The whole point of a relationship is for you to really get to know who that person is, and for you guys to build a connection. And you cannot do that if there's a lack of communication.
That's true.
And so if this person is a priority to you, if this person is important to you, then you should communicate to understand as opposed to communicating to respond. And so for me, my second most important thing is that kind of understanding aspect in a woman. To want to communicate, to understand what I'm thinking, even if I'm having issues trying to articulate my thoughts, which, men do in turn, because we don't really, sometimes some of us don't really talk that much. We just do.
98% of you guys.
we just do things. Like,
you guys just come with a mood, and then you have to you have to start digging in. Like, okay, so what is it? It's not the food. Okay, it's not the. Okay, what is it? Okay, go ahead.
So some of
you
us
have to keep checking the boxes. Okay, what's going on? Anyways,
yeah, and sometimes it's it's all, we just feel like we need to be strong and internalize a lot of it, but still being able to, having someone there who's even interested in trying to understand how you're feeling is super important. And someone who's willing to kind of invest in understanding who you are at your current spot is so important for me. And what it does is it lets me know that as we move through life, because we as humans, we're going to constantly change as we get older. You will always be there to interpret who I am at that moment and then respond to me in accordance to who I am at that moment. And
That's
so
big.
Reciprocity and understanding.
Okay. How about you, Osaho?
So these guys took all the good answers, and then you chimed in and you took one of the good ones too. Last one. So I mean, honestly speaking, I guess I will piggyback off of some. So communication's huge, obviously. So communication, without communication, how do we ever agree? How do we get to understand each other, right? And there has to be continual communication throughout the many stages of us as as a couple, right? So we're the young couple. We have to have a certain level of communication and understanding. Understanding is another one. So now we're a couple that has a child. So there's a new communication that has to come in play with a new level of understanding. So now we're a couple that has grown children, and it continuously progresses, because again, there'll be ambitions that I have that I chase after, even though we have a child, ambitions that she may have that she wants to chase after. And there has to be this constant communication where we both can be at least aware of each other and aware of each other's evolution. Because what tends to happen is people that don't communicate, and then you look up one day and it's a completely different person from the person you married way back when here, but you weren't doing your job in keeping up with communication to see that, hey, I'm changing day by day, year by year. I'm becoming a different individual. So communication at least keeps you on the pulse of things within your marriage, within your relationship, within that person, to at least keep you in unison. A second huge one for me would be a person that they would need to be adaptable. If they're not adaptable and they're kind of in this like static state of being stubborn, it's gonna make life more hard for the both of us, because now we become this one. But if you're not adaptable, like, you know, things could be up one year, things could be down one year, and you have to have someone that can be at least even keel to be able to withstand all of those different fluctuations, and then say, hey, you know what? We're gonna hold each other's hands, and we're gonna make it through all of this ugly to get out on the other side. Because a person that isn't adaptable, the way that I see it sometimes, is when they see a whole bunch of issues, they kind of like cower in, or they may cave in. And that everyone's at different stages, right? But when you enter into marriage, adaptability is one of the tools that you have to have. And that's a sharp tool that you have to be ready to exercise it at every turn, because life is so unpredictable.
I have one more for you. I keep thinking about how to ask the question. But you mentioned to me, which I thought was very interesting, that you said a woman is raised to see her worth in a man, while a man is raised to see his worth in his wealth. And I think it's like I get into a lot of conversations every day. For some reason, that just stopped me on my track, because I was just like, wait, hold up. That is exactly correct. And I just wanted you to just talk to me about that a little bit. What do you mean by what you said? And yeah, and then we'll be done.
Okay, so I think that came up when we were talking about if I view marriage as a gift. There was that conversation.
Right,
that's what it stemmed from.
yeah.
I said, yeah, I definitely view marriage as a gift, just as women view it as a gift. But I think that women also view it as a prize, as opposed to men. We don't view it in that way, right? Because just the way people look at a woman, they look at her, okay, she's doing this, she's a certain age, okay, but where's your husband? Like, that's the question that starts coming to, like, regardless of what she's doing outside of that. And that's how people view like her worth, so that's why they view that as a prize, because they know, okay, when I get my husband, then people will look at me like I'm correct, like I know what I'm doing.
Like
I'm
the
on
husband
the right.
add the status, right?
Right.
Yeah.
As with a man, even though of course you'll still get that question like, okay, where's your wife? But they look at you, okay, so what are you doing, right? So if you're a man, you're walking around and you're married or you're not married, people won't look at you sideways. But if you're a man and you don't have a job, they will look at you, okay, so what are you doing with your day that you don't have a job? Mm-hmm. Just like they'll look at a woman like, what are you doing with your life that you can't find a husband?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people, our value is found in our work and in our wealth, right? So, and then women is the way, we've seen it is in whether they're able to get a man to want to spend his life with her, so that's why I think that we'll still view marriage as a gift but not a prize, because if you're a man and you get to whatever age and you're successful in business, in your education, whatever it is, people will look at you like, okay, like he's not married, okay, that's fine, but he's really like, he's on it, like he's very successful.
Man. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
As opposed to a woman in the same way, like they're like, oh, she's a CEO of this, like, okay, is she married? Does she have kids? Like that'll be the question, So you just see how society views the people's worth, and then we internalize it and say, well, even as I said earlier, I said I have stuff going for me. Like I have my job, I have this, you know what I mean? So if somebody comes to me and said, oh, where's your wife? I don't feel that pressure, because that's not where I've been told my worth is, as opposed to a woman that they'll say, like, even when you see women, they're like, yeah, I don't want to get this next degree, because if I get another degree, I'm not going to be able to find a man, and that's the prize, or that's where the worth is. So it's just it's an interesting view of like how everybody sees themselves.
That is interesting. I thought that was too. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. That's all the questions I have. I will definitely do a part 2, so stay tuned. You all have a lovely evening.